We will officially call this meeting to order. I think we've got everybody here. We've done audio checks. So I think we're down to number 3 on our agenda. Do we have additions, deletions, or corrections to our agenda? Anyone?
I had an email that Ann sent along to me as some questions just about the grant, just kind of some follow-up questions about the funding and the Kirkpatrick Family Foundation. I did not forward that on to anyone yet, so I didn't know if you wanted to add it maybe as a sub item under the code rewrite. We could just maybe talk through her questions. We could perhaps add it, as letter A underneath item 8, if you want to. They're just kind of basic questions about the funding status and all that.
Okay, let me just ask you this. Are these questions that you can answer, Nate?
I think so. Well, some of them. I can't answer all of them 100%, but.
Okay, so some of them we may have to research or whatever, but.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have a problem addressing it later on.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that needs to be added to the agenda?
Not that I know of.
If not, do I have a motion to approve our agenda for this evening?
I move we approve the agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. This is the time for our public comment this evening. Do we have anyone who has signed up for public comment, Nate?
No one signed up. There are a couple of other participants on Zoom. We have Carolyn Bowers and we have an Eagle's Nest, which I believe, I know I've met them, but I cannot recall their names, but either of them have any comment?
Do we have any comments?
Not.
Nate,
Yes.
Nate, I just through the chat asked you if I could record the meeting.
Yes, I said sure.
Oh, thank you.
So, do you have any other public comment?
Nope, not for
Okay.
me.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Eagle's Nest, anything from you?
Okay.
No, nothing on this end. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so we go on to approval of our minutes. Can you put those up, please, Nate? Do we have any additions or corrections to our minutes from our last meeting?
None here.
Yeah, none.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. So let's move on to our new business. Nate, you've got an application for shed construction for us.
Yes, this is up on 10680 Mountain Avenue, which is shown here in the picture, although these parcel lines are pretty terrible. If you go up go up Foster, take a left on Mountain Avenue, last house on the left. And so this is pretty straightforward application. Molly Nord, the applicant, is here. All the documentation and setbacks are, all the documentation is present. The setbacks are met. Drainage is not affected. They plan on, they have a sloped, very sloped backyard, so it's going to be kind of built on a kind of a raised platform as needed to level it out. So the existing drainage will not be affected. It's under the 200 square foot threshold for Pikes Peak Regional, so they're not involved. And I believe Molly said that they might do it themselves or have Sunset do it. And then I advise just to be sure to have any contractors that may do the work. If they end up doing the work, then the contractors just need to do the business license application, which I can forward to anyone that needs to do that. But I can scroll down to site plan, which is very nice, clear. So you can see the blue lines drawn in on the ILC document, basically, and the shed is clearing all those setback lines, even with that irregular parcel. So staff has no concerns and would recommend approval.
Okay. Does the applicant want to say anything about this at this time?
She does not have anything to add.
Okay. Do we have questions or comments from commissioners?
Molly, I'm just going to ask a question because I know your backyard is our backyard. Is it going to be in the same location as the other shed?
No, it's right.
Kind of. Where it says C detail, is that your home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your house. Then, so where is the other shed?
That's the one that's behind the application.
Just curious. So you're gonna have two sheds.
So the old one here
Okay.
is the one behind that apple tree. This one's gonna be kind of down outside here. So we have to put into the back of it here.
Okay.
And this will just be, with the decks. So,
And where's your fencing?
the fencing actually runs right up the house here, and then it runs and follows this line. I'm sorry, it follows this, the actual property line. So the fence comes all the way down here.
Okay, so it's gonna be up the side,
It's gonna be up on the outside of the fence here.
pretty close to your deck and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is gonna be the side.
Yeah. It would be
Okay.
Right, 'cause there's like a big. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Nate, were you aware that there were two sheds?
No, but Lisa was just asking where the existing one is, and that is here towards this corner, right? Is that what you were saying? Towards this?
Well, you could, that's a really good diagrammatic.
Right, but I can't project it to the,
So it is
so
gonna
I'm just
be-
saying that
Yeah,
the existing shed is just here, right where kind of this wording is, where I'm kind of circling.
Where it says iron pipe?
Yeah, and that would have been the pin that was found. And then where the fencing is along the rear property line and then heading towards the house. So the new shed will be along their fence, which is all within the property boundaries.
Okay, so it doesn't matter how close sheds are to each other or to the house or how many sheds there are, that's not an issue.
No,
Okay. All right, Molly, are you using fire resistant materials?
I mean, it's gonna be wood, so I think it's just whatever standard materials, the sunset buildings.
Standard Sunset building materials, so no, there's no, it's all wood-based framing.
Okay. Would highly recommend, we haven't passed ordinances yet that require it, but highly recommend to the high risk of wildfire that you use fire resistant materials to keep a shed from bringing a fire onto your property and your home. Any other comments from commission?
She will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Questions?
None here.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll bring up,
approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
all right, thanks, Molly. And if you want to leave a check, you can do that or come by later. It doesn't matter. Okay, thanks. And did you already write it out you can just do town of GMF just to make it quicker and then just, yeah, drop it for me and that's it. That's all we need. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Molly. All right, so on to old business, our planning commissioner appointment process. After having, we didn't get to talk about this since we missed our meeting last time. We probably need to get our clock running. Here, he's put up the volunteer application.
And I just added this portion about alternate. Are you willing to participate or serve as an alternate? And then just a little descriptor saying, just explaining the alternate situation as briefly as I could. And so anyway, just to show this and have welcomed any other suggestions about improving the form.
No, Nate, I think this looks great. Is there any other suggestion from any commissioner in addition to what Nate?
None here.
No.
We need to talk about our process. I think we've had some conversations about it. If people have already filled out an older form of the application, we can certainly, in our questioning, ask them if they're willing to serve as an alternate, I assume, if that works for all the commissioners. There's no requirement that we have 5. We can have up to 5. There's no requirement as far as how many alternates we have. To me, it makes sense to have maybe 1 alternate simply because if you have a bunch of alternates, you don't know which one is going to be the one that's going to fill in when somebody's gone. And then you're having to figure out a process for figuring out who's alternate 1, who's alternate 2, who's alternate 3, which just complicates our whole process further. So would everyone on the commission be willing to start the clock running to receive applications over the next month and be willing to use our questions that we will individually develop individually with each applicant. And our process has to include that they are residents, obviously. That is the code. And then second, there's really no other requirements other than using, as the code mentions, our good sense, good judgment. And I would assume we would demonstrate that with the questions that we're going to ask. Does everybody feel like they could have at least 1 question ready to go within a month or ready for our next planned meeting on the 9th of August. Is that something that the commissioners believe they could be ready for?
Yes.
Are we going to be able to see the applications before the meeting?
Our deadline publicized, I believe the commissioners last talked about having a deadline for the day before that meeting, which would be Monday, the 8th of August. Is that enough time if they have them in?
I just thought the applications may spark some questions. So if we can see the application before the meeting, then we can have some questions that respond to whatever's on the application.
Okay, we have to keep it, ask the same questions of each person. We cannot individualize our questions for each person. That's part of our anti-bias plan. So I agree with you, Mike, that it's helpful to see the applications, and it may spark some questions, but we have to remember that we have to ask the very same questions of each person.
I think it would be all right to, follow up on something that's maybe needs clarification from the application itself. I think that would be okay. In general, if there's a list of interview questions that the planning commission produces for this purpose, I think it would make sense to have that, be the same for each, but, each person's going to have their unique experience. So I don't think it's, that, I don't know. I think it's reasonable to follow up on certain details, but I understand it's a fine line, could be.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what makes sense, is that you would be able to follow up if you need clarity or clarification on an individual's particular experience. Did I hear someone say they wanted to say something?
Yeah, yeah, this is it. Can you hear me all right?
You're great, Ann, go for it.
Well, I just wondered, the procedure in years past has always been that the applications were posted online, as something to be considered. And I think that's all right. I think that's a good idea. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
No one said we didn't. In fact, I would like to make a decision tonight, if we're able to do that, that we would go forward from this meeting with Nate publicizing in all ways that the applications and the fact that we're taking applications, the deadline, which is end of day, business day, August 8th would be the deadline, and that we will be interviewing the applicants on the 9th, our meeting, which will take the 9th of August. Is everybody good with all of that?
Okay, I do think it's kind of a shame that we're waiting for a whole month, but I guess we have to under the circumstances. So whatever you say.
Well, Lisa has a comment here.
Lisa?
Nate, could you put those applications in the agenda?
I would put,
So that
yeah,
we could see it before we arrive at the meeting?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be why I would receive them the day before so I could include them in the packet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
One other thing to mention, maybe if, I assume we're gonna have another work session between now and then on the code. So we,
Yes, I was going to propose that we meet on the 26th, a work session if we could.
that night is the town public short-term rental meeting at Sally Bush. So that's quite a conflict, but any of,
How does the 27th work for everybody that evening?
Well, the Bronx Day Committee is meeting, but I could come here instead.
What time is that, Lisa?
It's at 6:30, but I mean, I can just let them delegate me to do whatever, and that's fine.
we could also meet
We
earlier
could
or
meet
something
earlier. Yeah,
if
would
that
be
works
good
for people.
you? Yeah, so Nate's not working late so many nights.
Talking about July 27th?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
I think that's all right.
Yeah, how about 5, Nate? Could we do it earlier?
Well, my hesitation with doing it earlier is what happened last time when we met earlier is we all starved to death and didn't have a chance to eat.
Oh,
So, I mean, if we could do as early as 6, but at least maybe that'd give people a chance to get something to eat. Because these work sessions run long. Or we could try for Monday, the 25th, if y'all prefer that.
That night is a fire mitigation advisory
Okay.
committee meeting.
Okay.
What about, I'm somewhat flexible, even that Thursday, well, Wednesday or Thursday evening, I think I could manage as well.
So is everybody good with 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th?
yeah.
Okay, let's plan on that then for our work session. And then if we need to, hopefully we'll knock so much out, we won't have to have many more of these.
And what I was gonna say on that is, if you wanted to have an agenda item on that meeting to review and approve your interview question list, you could do that. If you feel like that's necessary, probably a good idea if people are all contributing questions. So
Yeah,
just
I agree.
to get that lined up for then the next meeting, but tonight you can make a motion to, set the deadline for the
Okay,
application.
well, so I'd like to make a motion that we begin immediately to advertise this position and all the usual routes. And the deadline would be, you must have your, and of course, this is less than a month, so I think, it's fair. But it's almost a month, that you need to have your application in by the 8th, end of day, August, end of business day, the 8th. And we will discuss questions at our next meeting. That's a public meeting and the questions should remain private, but at least we can maybe send our proposed questions to Nate and he can compile them and we'll all just have a chance to read over them. Why? And so that's a long motion, sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Well,
All in
can we-
favor?
Yeah, can you repeat it, please?
Okay.
Order.
The gist of the motion is that we will begin advertising in all the usual routes. Nate will do that. That we have this opening, that we will fill one position and one alternate position, and that the applications for such should be, the deadline will be to have your-
August 8th.
is
Right.
if you want to be considered, is August 8th, end of business. And we will begin the interviewing process on the 9th at that meeting.
I would like to mention that the form said up to 3 alternates. I don't think one is, I don't think we should limit it. If we have 3, that might be good. If some-
I explained earlier why, the rationale for that. And that is, and again, I don't want to get bogged down on this because we've got so much work to do. But the main reason for doing that is then you've got to have a process for deciding who's alternate 1, who's alternate 2, who's alternate 3. How do you get them in the right order? Who is going to fill in when somebody's not here? Is it alternate 1, alternate 2, alternate 3? How do we decide who's what? We can always alternate.
Usually each commissioner in other, like the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, there are 3 alternates, and if you're there, you get to be there. That's the way it works.
Right. Well, we have a lot of crowd control right now. So I think that if we can fill our 1 empty position and fill an alternate position, I think we have done a great job. So that's the motion It's on the table. Do I have a second?
Lisa has a comment.
I'm going to comment that I
Yes.
agree with you, Lamar. I did a fair amount of research and I actually spoke with city government and Fair Play. I called Silverton. I called San Luis. I called multiple towns that had similar population as we do. Most of them do not have a planning commission because there is not enough interest. Buena Vista, which is very large, they have a lot of development going on. They have 2 alternates. But I think 1 for us would be appropriate as we're starting. I mean, right now it seems to be there's a lot of interest, but I agree. I think just 1 would be appropriate.
Okay. Is that a second to my motion, Lisa?
And then I will second your motion.
Thank you. So favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Me? Oh, no.
Okay, motion passes. So let's move on to,
Can I just ask one more question about this questioning process?
yes, please.
I fail to understand why we couldn't ask specific questions of specific candidates based on what they've got in their interview or their application. If
I
you're going to
agree.
follow up on something that's unclear, I don't see how that would be prejudicial or whatever it is we're worried about. I think we're way too worried about something.
Okay, Mike, I agree with you. Our general questions that we come up with, just generic questions, have to be asked, the same ones of everybody. And then if we're following up on specific information on somebody's application that we need clarity on, we can ask follow-up questions. Does everybody agree that that is an appropriate process that does not show bias?
Yes, I agree.
Is there anyone that disagrees with that? Okay. I think that makes sense. So let's go forward planning to do it that way. Okay. All right. So now we're on to our code rewrite and want to knock out. Does somebody have their hand up? Sorry.
Oh,
I'll
sorry, we
just
were
wave
just,
goodbye to Molly.
Oh, okay. Let's work on this code rewrite. I believe where we left off last time was, I think we had gotten through non-conforming lots on page 5 or 105. Page 5, chapter 12. I think we're ready to start 12-1-60.
can I just clarify real quick? Well, go ahead, Lisa, if you want to.
Will you go ahead?
I was just gonna say, just reviewing the video, I think we left off, we added this word use on page 2. And then it was basically the gist of the conversation was that this nonconformities section needed to be rewritten, but to be more clear in general. So I don't know if that included literally all the non-conforming sections or what. I was just kind of unclear on that. Or were we just gonna try to get some guidance from a consultant or something on that?
Yeah, we had originally talked about rewriting that, and then we decided that would not be necessary. One question I have for you,
Oh, we did.
because you sent us the information about the consultant, Nate. Did you ever find out from Becky the process for, do we have to go through a bid process? Do we have to get 3 bids? What's our situation with trying to get on somebody's calendar? Because again, we've got to have all this done by the end of the year, any of our expenses. And I think I really liked the guy that you sent me. That made a lot of sense for a consultant. Did you learn any more, Nate, on that?
No, I think we would just be prudent to just get a few quotes if we can even find, that same type of expertise that's available in this time frame. I think that might be somewhat of a challenge. But Lisa also had a comment here, sorry.
So I spoke with the planning commissioner from Buena Vista, and I asked him who they had used because they recently just did a new a land code rewrite. They call it something else. And he recommended a consulting group, and I wrote it down. And then I also looked, and there's an American Planning Association, Colorado chapter, almost like a Better Business Bureau kind of a thing that lists different consultants. And there is one, Plan Tools LLC. I don't know who you guys are looking at. This is online, and they specialize in small town and rural communities in Colorado. So I
Okay,
think that there are some out there that we could look at. Capelli Consulting is the one that they used for
okay,
Buena Vista, but I don't know if they had something. I think we need to look into something that's more geared towards rural. I mean, settings like we have, although we're getting to be more developed as a result of this art, the art festival. So there are some nuances that are a little bit different. All the towns are of course different, but anyway, I did have some names as well.
I think what we could do is just reach out to a few, like 3 or 4 different firms and just ask the question, hey, what's your schedule looking like in the next couple months, and what are your rates?
Mhm.
And
what experiences? I mean, would it be
and
a
experience
good
and-
fit? Because I
yeah.
think we didn't have as good a fit before.
Okay, so I could do that, and I think that would be sufficient. I don't think it's not a very large amount of money, so I don't think we would have to go out to RFP or anything like that. I think we could just get quotes and find a good fit within our timeline, hopefully.
That's perfect, Nate. Thank you.
Well- What are they going to consult about? The nonconformities?
We talked about last week, or last time that we met, we talked about how we're going to run through this thing, striking out as much as we can, everything that makes sense to us, but we need to run it by a consultant so that they can say, whoa, wait a second, this is too important, you got to keep this, or hey, let's restate it this way. But
One thing, Lamar, I would mention that, this was in the old code and it was very simple. And we do want to keep it simple. And this is really, really detailed. And it creates a lot of hardships.
yes,
for
ma'am,
people.
that's what we're doing tonight. That's why we're slashing and burning. So
And then, I had another idea quick. I just wrote down, we could invite some of the former planning commissioners to come and tell us how they've done it more than we have.
I was on the planning commission and know most all of them and went through the process. So I'm pretty familiar. I don't feel like
But I'm not.
but we're moving on. We're moving on. All right. So we're on what page? We're on page 3. Maintenance and minor repair. I think we got past that.
Lamar,
we
can I just
didn't.
make
I don't
Yeah,
know.
go ahead, Lisa. You have a
Okay,
comment?
just one more comment. So
Yeah.
Nate, you sent us an annotated land use code update, annotated outline. Is that what Nina had prepared originally? Okay. So when I look through the scope of what it is, what it isn't, it is not what we also received from her. I mean, there's definite contradictions here. But should we just, I don't know, rather than just attacking every paragraph at every page, we're going to get rid of it, we're going to keep it. Should we kind of have a global overlook of, or a global idea of, the sections, something more simplified, and then here's what we're going to keep and continue? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to make it more difficult, but I'm worried that we're going to miss something if we just start running through and slashing things.
Yeah. We have to choose some methodology
Right. So I'm,
to do this.
okay.
So
The other thing I read the development code that Buena Vista had, and they had very simple charts. They also had photographs of like a fence or something that I think would be really helpful. Just an idea to throw out there as people were flipping through, and they could look and see, here's the example. This is what we mean. So that's another idea. And now I will let you proceed. Sorry.
no, Lisa, those are great ideas. And if you have a different outline or way of following this, we can certainly change up what we're doing. If you have a different suggestion, I think we could all sit and discuss how to do it the rest of our lives. But we've got to do something. We've got to produce.
But
Yeah,
we mustn't rush. This is too important. The
Well,
public,
we've got a deadline looming, and I'm not saying that we're going to rush and do it badly. I'm
I
saying
feel,
we don't have a lot of time to do it. I'm not going to argue with you, Ann. Lisa, what is your suggestion for organizing?
So at this point, since we're thinking about getting a consultant, Nate, is there a way for you to just like block out or highlight, here's what we're going to get rid of? Then we can easily run it by the consultant. Is this a good idea? Not a good idea? I just don't want, I want us to keep some of that so that it could be reviewed. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah,
Please.
I have the like track changes on. So basically, when we are going through this, I can either, well, I can basically do a strike through, and then if there are, specific notes on a section, for
Okay,
instance, this non-conforming section, I can make a general note to say, simplify, or, look for an example of a more layman terms,
so we can get the consultant to help us with that, and we don't need to
right,
worry about
or-
wording that out ourselves.
Yeah, or
Okay, that
note-
sounds great.
or
Yeah.
note, general concerns in a section, but I think we're doing that as we,
Okay.
I can make notes as well on particular terms or whatever, so.
Yeah. That sounds good. That was, that we agreed to last time, that we would just do the best job we know how to do and then run it all by the consultant. And so that's the process that we're in right now, just to remind everybody from last time, the decisions that were made. And I think that still works well. Appreciate everybody's comments. All right, so where are we? Are we on this maintenance and minor repair? We talked about that last time.
Yeah, last time it kind of just abruptly ended around here. On this, we added the authority to continue use. That was the last specific change that I noted here on that bottom of page 2.
Right.
So there was discussion generally about the nonconformity, and I would say that this nonconformity section is crucial for the town, because this is what allows people to do the limited. This defines to what extent people can make improvements within the constraints of new rules. So I think it's a pretty important section for the town. I don't have any specific suggestions on top of my mind here, but it's awkwardly worded, but it's very crucial.
Is that one where we could ask somebody to simplify it and make it more easily understood?
Yeah, but I also think that this would maybe the section where we would address like the situation with the deck, the replacing a deck within the same footprint. There's a lot of this in town where where this happens, like we saw last time with that deck that was falling apart, needed to be replaced. Essentially the same footprint. That one did vary a little bit based on the drawings that they initially submitted to me, which is what triggered the variance need. But this may be the area to address the situation and say, if whatever the wording is, but if a deck or a structure, I don't even know how to word it myself here, but in that case, if you're just
Needs to be
basically
replaced, is that?
right, yeah, in the event of a need for replacement for safety purposes, or however you want to, if that's even needed to say, then some sort of language that would allow that use to be grandfathered in specifically where it's clear, where it's not, up to staff
Mhm.
interpretation of, non-clear language. So we could note that, like on this continuation of non-conforming uses of lands or structures section.
Right, but you
You
may
know.
not even know that you have a non-conforming, you just want to replace your deck. So
Right.
you're looking at the thing, yeah. So.
And that's where
it's pretty worded.
that's where staff comes in. In that event, the person would come in. They would say, hey, I'm replacing my deck, and they may not, and staff could just say, okay, great, it's, is it the same? If you use the same footprint,
Mhm.
and that's the hard part to kind of prove, I guess, but I mean, it's
One thing.
not that hard, right?
So, yeah.
If it's still standing, or if you can see evidence of where it was. But in general, if it's the same location, then maybe it doesn't need to conform to the latest setback requirements. Or the other way to look at that is decrease the setback requirements, or both, so I think it's hard, but I think if maybe one way to do it would be maybe make a list, like, or even if every commissioner or whoever could make a list of, these are the situations that I've seen that bother me, that seems to be too much of a hardship for the person, and then we have a simple list of those, then we can kind of plug that in to the appropriate sections
Mhm.
of
That's a
code.
great idea, Nick, or Nate. That would be nice.
Okay, so just so we know what we're doing here, Nate, you're going to make a note that you will receive from commissioners lists of issues they have seen that are nonconformances that are minor. Is
Yeah,
that,
I think-
Any nonconformities. Some are major, but they're old.
I want to clarify what Nick's asking, Nate, sorry, is asking everybody to do. Nate, what is it you're asking the commissioners for?
Yeah, I guess if there's scenarios that you've seen or are aware of, or whatever the case may be, or problematic things you've seen in the code, I mean, that's one way to add input to this, to say, these
Yeah.
are situations that have bothered me. I don't feel like the owner
Yeah.
should have had to go through that, or whatever the case was.
Yeah,
And then we can,
Todd's here tonight, and a year ago, the commissioners went through a process like this and provided that very kind of list to Nina and to the commissioners, so that we could cover some things like that. I
Is
don't
that the
know.
Survey? Is she talking about the survey?
No, I'm talking about commissioners actually put together
Okay.
where they saw issues and had a list.
Is that in the
So
minutes?
if that list still exists, Todd, do you know?
Yeah, can you hear me?
There-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
There's a-
remember putting together well, we actually did put together a list of minors, I think. But I
We
can't
did.
remember for sure if we did that for
minor.
administrative review or like minor repairs. I was thinking that was done more for administrative review.
Yes, it was.
But it would be useful for this exact same purpose. Okay,
Haven't we, in one of our charts, delegated decks and fences and outbuildings to the staff to approve? And I would
Yes.
say to add to that, if they're non-conforming but not changing the footprint, you ought to approve those too. I just don't think having a big process, I mean, if this house has been this way for 50 years and it's not encroaching on anybody's property and it's not causing any trouble, why would we want to create trouble for it? I mean, just go ahead and
Right.
approve it. And, if they're going to extend it a foot and a half, and in your judgment, that's no big deal because it's not encroaching on anybody. Maybe a foot and a half closer to the road, but it's not on the road. I think we use judgment and common sense and deal with those things at the staff level.
I agree.
That's a great idea. Are you able to do that, Nate? Are you able to add that to some of our charts?
Yeah, I'm noting it right here. I'm
Okay.
just trying to think of if there should be some sort of threshold of growth, because I don't know. That's a,
Yeah, at one point they were talking about everything going through staff, and I think they had certain percentages. I can't remember if it was 25% or 50% off the top of my head. But
You mean that the perimeter would change 25%?
well, it was more kind of covered under if a house partially burned and you were having to replace, say, more than 50%, then you have to belly up to the latest codes and whatnot. But
That was in
expanding
the old code.
footprints.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not, that one, I don't know.
Well, a lot of this non-conforming, all of this, much of this was just adopted from somewhere else. Nina said that.
Right.
So this could be from Manitou or Colorado Springs. We
Yes,
don't really know.
we've talked about that numerous times, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, to try to make it fit Green Mountain Falls. All
Yeah,
right.
I like your idea of the list. If I could, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in and I shouldn't, but I like your idea of people coming up with a list and then
Yeah.
Okay. And
debating
they
the
can
list.
provide that, to Nate. And does anybody have any questions about what you're being asked to do and what kind of list you're being asked to provide?
no questions here.
Okay, so we need to have a deadline to get this to Nate.
Before the next meeting.
No, we need to have it sooner than that so he can collate everything and put it together for us. Our next meeting is the 27th. Tonight is the 12th. I think it should be easy for everybody to have that to him by end of day the 15th. That's the end of this week. That should be, if you haven't done it by then, you're going to forget about doing it. So,
And this is just for the non-conformity section, right?
correct.
Okay.
That's good. I think probably a lot of that is on the top of everyone's mind anyway.
All right, so can we leave the non-conforming structures, lots, enforcement, violation penalties? Is there any more of that we need to discuss that won't be included in our list?
No, they'll all be there. Yeah.
Page 4, page 5.
Mhm.
Okay, we're on to page 6, zoning districts. Article 2, this is 12-2-10, page 6.
Yep, and you can see my screen still, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's good. That helps. Mhm.
Do we have zoning currently?
Yes.
Is the entire town zoned?
So,
Yes, it-
yeah, I could just bring up the current one real quick. I can bring up the map as well. That's probably better. Let me do that.
And is this document changing the zones?
Yes,
Yes,
this
it
actually
is.
has pretty significant change, at least one. I'm gonna bring up the codes so you can, the current zone codes so you can review them, and then I'll bring up the map as well.
That's chapter 16, right? Has that all been repealed yet?
We're working on it right now, changing it. This is the previous zoning. And on the-
Yeah, what's on the screen now are the existing
It's still in
districts.
force, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure, other than the charts, that we have made an improvement on our current zoning.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the best. So right now, the zones are, it's kind of interesting how the residential zones, well, number one, right now we have 4 different R1 residential zones, which essentially means single family. The square footage designations have been used to basically create slightly different rules for each, such as setbacks. There's a little bit larger setbacks on the larger parcels. And then that R1 5-acre hillside is pretty rare. But the other big difference is the zoning as proposed combines R1 and R2 so that essentially everything that's currently zoned, any of these would be combined into the single R1 or the SF, what's called the SFR, single and 2 family residential zone, as proposed in this document.
Like duplex or something?
So I'm confused. On the map, it just says R1.
Yeah, R1 on the official zoning map, everything is basically labeled R1, but then, and every time something comes up, I have to look at the square footage of it in order to say it's in the R1 5,000 or the R1 10,000 or the
Right, so
R1.
what, and so do you want to keep it subdivided like that? No.
I don't necessarily,
Okay, so
but
we're going to try to. Okay.
Why are we changing it? What's the impetus for changing the zones in a town that's this old and has
Right.
this few lots left to build on?
I think, again, the goal is to simplify it, because if you can see here, there's basically 5 zones instead of
Mhm.
what do we have here? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so the simplification, I think, is where the reason for that. Todd, did you want to?
And you're also basically standardizing all the setbacks. Just think of, we have lots that are long and narrow, but they may be a 10,000 or 20,000 square foot lot, and they have greater setbacks, even though the front footprint may be the same as a 5,000 foot. And so this is just basically standardizes all the setbacks.
Oh,
Well, is it making them more difficult to comply with the setbacks?
And I
Yes.
think in a lot of cases, it would probably ease it, because
Okay.
you would be able to actually go closer to, in some cases, the property adjacent.
And we are going to talk about whether we want to reduce the setback allowances.
Right, that's why your tables.
Mhm. And the other thing too is that right now, as it's written, the minimum building, at some point when the code was updated, it set basically a minimum lot size for development, which is 5,000 square feet. And there's a lot of lots, and there are many lots in town that are less than 5,000 square feet. So that automatically puts those lots into a non-conforming situation, and really limits the possibilities for those. So that's one detail in all of this.
Well, looks like on our new code, page 7, our minimum lot size is still 5,000 square feet. And for multifamily, it's a minimum of 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, and these are all details that we need to talk
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, but
And I do know that there are so just from knowledge of town, I do know currently that there are several lots that are zoned R1, but are actually being used as R2. So I think in some ways, I had some questions about whether it was a good idea, to combine the two, but I think that it's reasonable. I don't know. I'm not a planning professional, but
Yeah, I don't know, just for if you're in a neighborhood and then suddenly there's a little bunch of townhouses, and then you go single family homes, and then maybe some condos. I don't know that that's
well,
a great idea.
two family would restrict it to, in theory, a
Like a town-
duplex,
a duplex.
or there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot is a good word, but there are several parcels that I know of that have two dwelling structures
right.
on them.
Yeah, we do.
And so I think that is another reason to perhaps
Okay.
combine the two, just to
Okay.
allow that, because we know that it,
Not to necessarily encourage new development, new duplexes being built or something like that.
I mean, it would be possible
Yeah.
if you zoned it that way. If the zone was defined as, two family, then it would be
Mhm.
possible to do that. But I also know that there are parcels that already do that, that aren't
Yeah.
zoned that. So, it's, do you want to really, is anyone ever going to care or crack down on that? Or is it a concern moving forward that there's all of a sudden going to be a bunch of duplexes or,
Just population density.
right?
That's the only concern.
Do we know how many lots are vacant that are even eligible to be built on?
I do have a map of vacant lots.
Is it very many? I mean, is it a dozen or is it a lot or?
It's pretty significant.
Really?
There's a lot of vacant lots around town. I can bring up a map here.
Well,
Does your map differentiate between buildable and non-buildable?
No.
Yeah,
But
'cause I don't-
that's something that could be, what I could do, I don't have this data right now, but it wouldn't be too hard to do. I could look and just see what the square footage is of these vacant lots in general, or I mean, I could, create a spreadsheet of those, both for vacant lots and for all lots, and we could see kind of what that minimum lot is,
Mhm.
how many of them are under 5,000 or under 4,000, or
That would be smart.
that would be kind of
That would be
helpful.
great.
I-
if that's not too much trouble, I think we
That'd
ought
be
to
fantastic.
try to
Have
get a
some
handle on
data.
the size of the issue.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
that's,
I know we've got a property up there that probably has 3 extra lots on it. Well, they're never going to get built on. They must be really small.
Mhm.
and the
Yeah, I-
buildability is sort of subject to construction and septic and all those issues. But as
Big
far as the
boulders.
town is concerned, as far as setting a minimum lot size, then that data could help with at least setting a benchmark.
But like a lot of other things we have to deal with, we could set a minimum lot size, but if there's a bunch of lots in town that are smaller than that, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
We can't go back and say, you can't have this small a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So we're gonna have to
Right.
figure out what to
If
do.
a house exists, right. But in that case, they would just not be able to
To build, that's.
to
what the-
expand.
Right, that's what the planning
And then
commission would.
if you have a small lot, nothing's built on it, then this might suggest you can never build on it.
Right.
Right. I guess. I mean, in theory, yes, that's the
Yeah, and-
the purpose of this.
In theory, if we have a minimum lot size, they would have to come back in front of the commission and the board, to say, hey, we've got a lot that's smaller and we want to put, say, a tiny home on it.
Mhm.
They would have to come back in front of the
Get
commission
a
and board to do
variance.
it.
Mhm.
Okay, so to get through this section, we do feel like that Nina has simplified from our previous. And so that is a good thing. There's only 5 different kinds of zoning districts, and they seem reasonable to me and very different from each other.
I have a question about the park and open space.
Yes, ma'am.
That seems new, and it talks about publicly or privately owned designated as parks to preserve.
Previously, we had public lands district.
Is this, yeah, public facilities and public lands.
But open
In this map, this newer. one,
space, you know, parks
public
and
lands.
privately owned intended
this-
to preserve.
Yeah, think of the Red Butte open space and the recreation area. This would fall, if you were to continue with this, that's privately owned and it would fall into the OSP.
So that's following what's happening. They're giving permission for that to go ahead.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
they've
we
already
just-
got permission, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it basically has a zoning code specifically for something like that if they want to have some
And be-
privately owned entity. wants to
Before
have
that,
open space.
they had to go through a special zoning change.
No, we had it previous to this as well. She's just slimmed it down and made it simpler and more easy to understand. So I think all that makes sense. Do we want to look over at our minimum lot size on page 7 and see if we want to make any changes there?
This is for the future. Is that what Mike was saying? Because some of us, you know, do have.
These are our proposed codes.
Uh-huh.
We are working our way through page by page currently. And so this is page 7.
Mhm.
So I think we had talked about maybe making this minimum lot size smaller. We want to wait for the information that Nate was going to collect for us and come back to this based on our buildable lots and the numbers of them. Is that what everyone would like to do? Wait on it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Is this intended to say what you can do going forward?
Yes.
So it's not going to change an existing, if you've got a 4,500 square foot lot, they're not going to come out and tell you, okay, so this is going forward, 5,000 square foot lot's going to be required for a single family.
Right.
All right.
And it would define what all are now nonconformities. So that's,
But for new development, basically.
well, even
So
for,
the old stuff would be not.
even for existing, well, not all the old stuff, but I mean, this would dictate how many existing are now non-conforming.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is-
in chapter 16, it was already 5,000. That's a more recent code, the one we're revising. So that's pretty much stayed the same, hasn't it? From chapter 16.
Right.
Well-
Yeah. I don't think she really changed much, but she did, these are all up for negotiation.
Yeah.
So that's our job, is to decide, does this fit Green Mountain Falls now? And is this what we want to live with going forward?
Good idea.
Can I clarify what public and semi-public on page 7 in the chart means? Well, there, right there. What is that? Public,
should
no. Go-
Yeah, but
where
it's
you were
this.
looking at. Oh, I
It's
see.
this description here.
So a public facility could be on 5,000 square feet that serve the life sustaining, like
sorry.
what? I guess I need an example.
And that would be like Colorado Springs utilities stuff.
Okay.
They have assets around town. They have, I don't know if I assume they own some land for pump stations or whatever,
Those
but
buildings, okay.
so yeah, it's like,
Okay.
it's town owned
Okay. thank you.
or other quasi governmental
Okay. I was trying to visualize what would be
facilities,
on it.
I would say. But yeah, so that would set it. So for example, this is saying, a multifamily lot has a higher minimum size threshold to develop on than a single and two family, which makes sense. And then a business has an even lower threshold. So a business could set up in,
Right.
a really small lot,
Okay.
which, is, again, all these are up for discussion.
And when you skip down to the density, how many units per acre? I don't know how to reference that.
Yeah, that's
Like,
kind of a,
we
That's
maybe
borrowed.
want to get rid of that.
I don't know if that's even pertinent to all the zones.
Yeah, that's something we could probably strike out.
Yeah, some other rows you may want to really put under the microscope, and when Nate gets done, I'll point them out, because they were just pretty much arbitrary numbers that went in from someone else's code.
And then underneath it, that's next line, landscaping area. I mean, you're not going to
Well,
landscape
okay,
50%
if
of
you go
your,
back, it's the third row, maximum lot coverage, and the last row, minimum landscape area. I can
Right.
tell you those are just numbers that were imported from someone else's, and I don't even know if
right.
we really want that. So,
Yeah, it basically is permeable or impermeable. Are those the right words? It's basically how much of the lot is covered by structure versus ground.
Right.
So, which, yeah,
Need
I
that
don't know that we
minimum.
need to define that, but that's something that's a good conversation.
Maybe the lot coverage would be worth looking into, but I don't think the landscaping area, we don't really landscape there.
Yeah.
And the
Let's take
density-
that out.
Density, that covers the density by having whatever that percent is. Yeah, you wouldn't want to build a castle that extends, 10,000, a 10,000 square foot, I don't know.
Are we saying strike the minimum landscape area?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and I think also the maximum density, and then define it more in the lot coverage kind of thing. I think that should be addressed.
That does go to your concern, Lisa, about population density.
The density of units.
Right, but I would define it differently. I would still get rid of that. And then define it differently by the lot coverage business. Like how much you actually could build on that lot. Does that make sense, Todd? Am I thinking? Okay.
What this is
Well,
saying.
what about,
2,000 square foot house on a 5,000 square foot lot, 40%.
pretty much, yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that you may want to consider in this, again, with this lot coverage type thing, is do you want to have, say, more area that is something that you would do fire mitigation on?
Right,
And so you might want to shrink the size of the houses to,
for safety. Mhm. Right.
Where are we able to add in our fire mitigation materials, fences, decks, all that? Where does that, and just the WUI codes, where does that fit in here?
I don't know, but I did ask Pikes Peak Regional a question about the WUI codes, and I can recite that. So,
a lot of those could just be referenced and not actually written in the code because they change.
Well, actually, they're pretty set in stone.
here's the response from Pikes Peak Regional Building. They said, I asked them about whether WUI codes were required as part of their process. Here's the response. The WUI stuff is more of an issue with zoning, not the building side. So it is not part of Pikes Peak Regional Code at all. He suggests talking with Colorado Springs Fire Department about their relationship with Colorado Springs zoning. They would know more about how and where it is adopted and all that. So pretty basic response, but I was
Colorado
surprised that
Springs has
wasn't-
completely adopted the WUI code.
that- I don't think it's for the whole city. I think it's for wildland urban interface areas like up towards Rampart and those
Yeah. Of course, we would qualify for all of that for our.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Nate, that is actually in Article 4.
What's that?
Article 4 is what discusses all this, the hazard identification and all that. So we're
Oh,
not
okay.
quite there.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we could
What
apply it
does-
to zones or we could add it.
What's WUI stand for?
Wildland
Wildlife
urban interface.
Wild what?
Wildland urban interface. So the idea is to create codes, and that it's helpful to think about it not just as building codes, but if you think about the maximum lot coverage and setbacks, for instance, if the larger your setbacks are, the more room you have to harden your property, and the more space then is between your stuff and your neighbor's stuff. So like if your neighbor wanted to build a wood shed that's 10 feet from your house, then you may not want that. And so
Mhm.
that's another thing to consider in all of this, because some of these thresholds are, will directly affect
Mhm.
that type of development.
Well,
moving forward.
That's a really good point, Nate. I think if we had a consultant where we could say, look, we want to embed the WUI codes within our codes here, then they can go through and say, all right, you need to do it here with your maximum density. You need to do it here with your landscape area. They'll know where to embed all this so that it's not contradictory and so that it all fits together.
Right, there may be a suggested maximum coverage, there may be.
Or setbacks and
or
stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's very good news that it's not part of the building code, because that's a whole another level of trying to get that adopted, because
Mhm.
so that was good. That's good news. And I
That
think
it's not-
our code now has some material prohibitions which are pretty outdated, but I think that illustrates that if the planning committee, if the town wanted to, you could have a list of required. I mean, that's a kind of a fine line in my opinion to go down that road, but have sort of prohibited materials or required materials for certain things. But again, then you have to think about the hardship aspect of that and the expense for people as well.
But there's also education, so we did suggest it to Molly, so I think that that's worth, not necessarily requiring it, but suggesting it and putting it in here, and it could be suggested so that it's available.
Yeah, and actually, we were talking to our contractor about it, and he said ultimately it's actually less expensive to maintain when you use those kinds of materials. It may be cheaper to put it up to start with, but as you're replacing boards and replacing things as time goes by, it becomes a lot more expensive than if you use the right materials to start with.
That's true.
And again, if you've got a lot of Colorado Springs doing this, there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't. We do have our wildfire mitigation standards on page 24. Those have been put in, but I think, and keep in mind that comprehensive plan is also calling for us to be much more fire hardened and mitigating the risk. So, anyway, I think if we can get a consultant to help embed this where it needs to go, they're paid to think about all that stuff that we don't know. So we're waiting for this section. We're waiting on Nate's buildable information. And then if we could just put a note, Nate, that we would like a consultant to help us with embedding the WUI codes in these sections.
You're breaking up a little bit, Lamar.
Oh, okay, sorry. I have to.
Yeah, we'll do. So I'm working on the maps. We can think more, you all can think more about this dimensional standards table in the meantime. And do we think there's any more changes to the definitions of these zoning codes, or are we moving,
You mean districts?
or districts, yes? Are we moving through those as written?
Well, she has simplified, so I like that. I can't think of a way to simplify it any further. Does anyone else?
Nope.
No. I like the table.
Yeah.
Was the plan PUD, was that in the chart? Huh. So there's this PUD. It's in there. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
The planned unit.
Planned unit development is almost in every code, and that's just if someone comes up and says, I want to do something different. It's an avenue for people to do something completely out of the box.
Okay, and right now we only have one of those, which is the parcel right next door here with the townhomes.
Mhm.
But I think that's would be more appropriate at this point zoned as multifamily. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, we may have an answer to that soon, but I also don't think that we should
Oh, right. That's the only place.
change based on that necessarily for the business. Yeah. So, okay.
Condominiums, that's a
Sorry.
different. Mhm.
Sorry, Ann, what?
Something about condominiums, that isn't in the PUD part. That's different.
No, we'll address that. So Tyler's just saying the PUD as for kind of for the ability for land to be developed through an overall or well, whatever it says, but I don't, to be honest, fully understand it.
You mean like
That's-
a water park? Like a water park?
Well, that's in the
Something crazy.
Yeah, something
That's
completely out of
okay.
the box that we don't really foresee at this point, but someone 2 months from now could come, 2 months after approval would come in and say, I got this wild, crazy idea and I've got the land to do it. And it enables this real out of the box type thinking.
Okay, so it's just there in case it's needed. All right, we're ready for page 9, overlay districts. She put a chart there that's basically two things. Downtown commercial core and the historic preservation. And those would be districts that can overlay each other or others. I think that's something that was contemplated in the comprehensive plan, that we would have the downtown core district and that we would have historic preservation overlay as well. I don't.
Is that just the downtown buildings?
Well, the downtown commercial core is an overlay. So that's primarily where it is now.
Yeah, so why, the historic preservation isn't really an overlay, is it? What's it overlaying?
It's not now, but it could.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of these overlays?
Well, if, say, for example, someone has a historic home and they want to have it zoned with this overlay. You have a historic preservation overlay that you can now use to zone it. Personally, I don't ever want to have anything I own get zoned with a historic preservation because that just pulls in.
Right,
all
what's
sorts of
the
stuff.
overlay
You can do it,
part?
right?
The overlay, okay, think of it like
Because
today we have R1, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000.
Right.
We also have hillside overlay
Right,
that just overlays right on top of it. So it's an additional set of requirements that go
right.
for anything that is categorized as hillside overlay. Now, most of the town is hillside overlay.
But what if,
So-
I'm talking about historic preservation. What's
So
the
historic
overlay with that?
preservation,
If it happens to be in an R1 and it's historic,
say if you got a historic house,
right,
that's zoned residential.
right.
If they want to have historic overlay, we could zone it with historic overlay in addition to residential.
I'm just
But there's
wondering
a
if
whole
we
set
even
of
need to have that.
I
historic
don't
overlay.
think we'd
Actually, I think that, I think like Nate said, I think it was something that was originally pulled in through the comp
Comp
plan.
plan, okay.
Yeah.
It was the comp plan that we were asked to be sure that we included historic properties.
I understand that, but the overlay that suddenly they turn it to a business, is that what you're saying?
No, just think of it as
No, no.
additional set of requirements.
So
No.
it would, if someone wanted to zone, so let's take the, I don't know, for lack of the Cassie property, I don't know, the one with
Right.
with the stage and everything on it.
Right,
So that's an
right,
old
yard.
Victorian historic home. If that was designated as this historic overlay, the use is controlled by the R1 or the single family whatever, the zone code.
Right.
So that governs the use, but then the hillside overlay then might put restriction, or the historic overlay might put restrictions on then how,
It can be
what you
used.
could do to that
Okay.
building in the future. So you
Okay.
couldn't put,
Gotcha. All right.
you would
Okay,
have
I
to
understand.
recite it with
Okay, I understand.
wood and not,
Okay.
you know, whatever.
And who would designate this overlay district? Who's going to do it? The person that owns the property or somebody else going to come along and do it?
I think the owners would come in and request that, most likely.
Seems
And you
like,
can do different kinds of historic designation. You could do something with the state. You could do something with the federal government,
Okay.
where you would
All right.
get
Got it.
grants to fix your property up if you
Right. It's just stuff.
correct guidelines.
Yeah,
It's,
I understand.
And
it is
then, oh, go ahead,
complicated.
Ann.
I was going to say it's very complicated because there are federal, state, so on regulations when you get into that. It's
That's
not
true.
even,
That's true.
Right, and I think it's mostly about the owner's preference and what options are available to the owner if they want to preserve that property in some way. But an example of what else an overlay could do is like for this downtown village, you see here, you could define different parking rules or regulations in a downtown overlay versus the rest of the town. So you could use it to have additional rules or exceptions or whatever that makes sense that would perhaps improve the downtown corridor in this, or downtown village in this case. So
Both of these are very vague and do not have anything that's onerous in them. They were simply added because the comprehensive plan called for them. So
So if
that,
we don't have to keep them in though.
well, we are charged with satisfying the requirements of the comprehensive plan, and
Well,
they are placed in here in a very generic way that's not going to cause harm to anybody, but does fulfill that mission that we were asked to do.
However, it complicates the mission of simplification.
Well, they did it very simply. She made it very, very, very simple.
It's borrowed from somebody else.
Yeah, you could have very complicated things, but my gosh, I mean, the historic preservation overlay is 3 points. I mean, it's pretty simple. So,
how about the downtown overlay? I mean, you could put a bunch of restrictions on that would be a heck of a hardship to the downtown businesses.
yeah, and I don't think it's all about restrictions. I think a lot of it's about exemptions too.
That's all the,
Yeah, that's right,
yeah,
right.
so up here, right, I was just gonna say, on the next pages, we need to look at what's being stated.
And for example, I don't think it's all about restricting use necessarily. A lot of it's about exempting things to make whatever makes sense. But for example, there's one in here about this parking. So, you know, there's a line in here that says business applicant may seek an alternative to providing the required on-site parking, which is just, defined
Right.
somewhere else in the code, by paying an occupier fee in lieu of providing the required on-site parking. I mean, that may not be the best example, but it's
We need, yeah.
that one
We've already started
doesn't
talking about
really
that.
make
We should get
sense.
rid of that.
So much parking downtown.
Yeah, we
you
should
can't
get rid
expand
of that.
Right. That's what they're saying, because there could be, they may not have that space. So it provides an alternate method of,
And
Yeah,
then
and
indeed,
we
we're gonna
do.
take that money that they give us and we're gonna make more parking. Look at that. Are you gonna do that, Nate?
Yeah.
And Todd?
I mean,
No.
we had 3 spaces in front of our store. There's never going to be any more unless you're
Well,
really small.
and
shops.
we had a recent situation where we had to do a variation because there was not enough parking by design, the old fire station.
Right.
And so that could be something that we could potentially pull in lieu of saying, okay, you need so many parking spaces. We could zone them with this and they could come in, pay a fine or fee, whatever you want to call it.
But that doesn't solve the problem of no parking.
No,
Just,
but it
just,
allows them to build their business and use it.
oh, how strange. Okay.
And I guess the idea would be the town would use it to maintain parking nearby
Right.
for
Money.
whatever, but they're just, examples of,
No, I don't like that.
So are you saying it's okay the way it's stated?
no, I'm not saying
Okay.
that. No,
Okay.
I think it's stated very awkwardly there.
Okay.
I don't think that's
Yeah, I
a
do
necessarily
too.
great idea. The way it's written here, I'm just saying that to further explain the overlays, like that's a method of providing for unique situations that we may have
Right.
in the downtown.
And then, well, okay.
Hey, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, so what should we do about this?
Yeah, I don't know. So what are we doing on this?
Okay, so we were asked by the comprehensive plan to create these 2 areas. I mean, we can take out parts if y'all don't like parts of it. It's really very vague and you can kind of do anything with it. But we do need to establish these 2 areas based on the comprehensive plan. Beyond that, I don't really, it doesn't.
Well, the comprehensive plan is just a vision, really.
That is
It's-
correct. And that is
it's,
part of our
uh,
charge, is to create something that,
That they like, or that the town likes. That's the problem, that's,
let's don't talk about the problem. Let's talk about how do we fix it? What do you want to do with this?
well, I think that's just too complicated.
Okay, so what do we do?
Leave the downtown, overlay simple like it is already.
Okay, leave it
I
like,
think the comprehensive plan inserted these as sort of examples of things that other towns may have done, but they didn't really hit on what the unique situations are in our town that should be included in these if they are created. So I
oh, we
think
need
that
to
if
get,
they're kept in, they should be drastically rewritten.
okay, well, why don't you put notes on that we
Take it out.
them further and our consultant can help us with that. How would that be?
Don't take it out. Okay.
Mm-mm.
I didn't hear that, Mike.
What'd you say?
I was saying maybe we just ought to take it out, but I got a signal that we don't want to do that. Hand signal.
We need
For
to,
which, either or both, or just one?
My recommendation, if you want it, is to keep them both, but this downtown village needs to be scrubbed.
Yeah,
Well, yes, we need to rewrite all this,
okay.
Yeah,
right?
sounds good.
And
Yeah, I mean, y'all are probably all aware that recently there was grant money for a big survey that was done around historic properties. I think that is going to be something that people are interested in. And so that's why it's in the comprehensive plan. We need to have just the basic framework. We can have somebody rewrite it, make it simple, whatever, but we do have to have, I believe, these 2 basic overlays just to comply with the comprehensive plan. But we can rewrite them or have our consultant do it. Okay, let's move on to page 12, Article 3, use regulations. This will be fun.
does it make sense to jump to the table and then
Sure.
go and address that and then go back to all this other blah, blah?
Page 13,
Supposedly defines it, yeah.
page 13.
Change, okay. Now this, a lot of this relates to the definition section that we basically went through and struck through a bunch of that stuff, so. A
Can we
lot
just,
of,
can
so
we
we
just get consistent with that and strike out the same things? Nick?
yeah, I can go through and do that.
Okay,
I don't know if that takes care of all the questions here, but yeah, I can certainly do that, or. I'm just
You mean
trying
in
to think
Article
of-
8?
What?
In Article 8? That's the definitions? Is that what you're talking about? What we-
Well, when we last review, we went through we started with the definitions, and
Which is
most of
Article 8.
these are, yeah, I think most of these are terms that were in the definitions that we we removed, so I don't know if.
back on page 92 where we took all those out.
Yeah. So I don't know if, I mean, I can just go through and, I don't know, it wouldn't take long to go through these, I guess, but
Family childcare home, there was
Yeah.
a daycare.
I'll just
center,
compare it and strike through the ones.
school.
Do we need this at all, since we already had our other charts that kind of address all that? We have our single and two-family residential, our multifamily.
Yeah, but I think we need it
Why do
because
we
it's
need
allowed
this?
uses. It's uses, though. It's a different
Uses
descriptor,
within the
a
zones.
different descriptor.
Mhm.
Yeah, it mentions childcare.
Redundant? Is it not redundant because you got your single and two-family home? We all know what the use of it is, right?
Well, we're needing to define the use.
But do we?
For instance, childcare, is that
Sorry.
mentioned here? Daycare center.
What are the letters P and C? Sorry.
P in a cell indicates that the use is permitted by.
Permitted.
right and without special authorization, and C in a
Oh,
cell.
I see it up there. Got it.
indicates that the use is
Conditional
permitted
use.
Right,
by special
conditional.
authorization
Okay, gotcha.
with a conditional use permit,
Okay.
whichever, whatever that is.
So
I think it,
the conditional, oh, sorry. Tim.
yeah, I think it's a good selling point that you have some of these identified but blank. Because obviously some of these, with the recent stuff with the bonsai thing, would definitely, we can go out and say, that's not allowed here per this.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but yeah. So,
Public, semi-public PF, what is that?
Those are the zone districts as defined.
so public and semi-public continuing, so a public retirement facility. I don't even know if we need that on there, but
A group home is permitted.
I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of,
Not a family childcare home.
So if we just go across continuing care retirement facility, I don't think that should be in a multifamily home. I don't think we should have a retirement facility, so I think that should not be allowed.
right.
So I think that should go away, get rid of that C. It could be a business.
Why not retirement home? I think that'd be nice.
Single,
Well, we're saying not in a not in a single and two family or
Home.
perhaps even multifamily district. A business district might make sense.
right,
Oh, I
But does
see.
it make sense to have it as a principal
Good or
right
anything.
right.
in a multifamily?
And a dwelling, single family in a business? So that's what we had talked about before. That's conditional. Okay. Because I know some people live in their business. Okay.
Yeah, and that in the business, actually in the downtown overlay, it defines
How much of it you can.
how much of the ground floor occupancy may be used.
Right. But we hadn't,
And then it also says you can't
Well, this does.
use it in the frontage. So,
right. But whoever says that, aren't we going to redefine that?
well, so if it's a business this is saying if it's business zone only without the overlay, then you would have to get a conditional use
Right.
to have a single family dwelling in it.
Right, okay, and I'm okay with that.
And so if we left that as is and then applied the downtown overlay,
Mhm.
then the residences that are there now
Are actually permitted.
may be okay. I don't know.
Well,
The
and the requirements are
50%
defined.
situation.
The requirements are defined in the overlay.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it still should be conditional on the overlay definition. So okay, so I'm just going through the lines just as, okay.
Yeah, tell me what, I think everything makes sense up until what do we say about the group home? Are we gonna allow that in a multifamily residential area or
No,
conditional?
I don't think so.
Conditional at all or blank?
blank.
A large should not be permitted. I
Large,
think.
not, what
No
about a
large.
small one? Blank and then conditional in a multifamily?
Yeah,
For small, you mean?
For a small one, yes.
Yes.
Couldn't some of those things be brought to the, just as a request and not,
Well, that's what the conditional is
do
for.
it
Aaron.
now?
So it could be, right, a conditional.
Yeah, that's what conditional means,
That's what
is
it
so they
means.
could come to the board and ask for permission to do that.
Yeah, just as a request.
yeah, they can ask to do whatever, but yeah.
Todd, are you going to leave the retirement facility? Or Nate, sorry,
Which-
at the
Oh, the continuing
At the
care?
very, yeah, I would get rid of that.
Yeah, I think we said get rid of all of that except as a business, maybe.
Right, so strike that.
What,
okay.
And semi and public. What do you
I
think
don't
about
know.
that?
Retirement facility in a public building?
Well, again, that's sort of a,
Like,
I
that's
think
if our
maybe that-
government wanted to provide a public facility,
right, yeah,
which I don't think is going to happen.
yeah.
So,
Well, you remember one of our clerks suggested selling the town hall. That could be turned into an old folks home. How about that?
Renting it, I think he recommended. Okay, let's not get off track. Are we done with this chart yet?
No.
No,
Family childcare home.
They're permitted. You can have
yeah, like
babies.
daycare.
Mhm.
Well, down here it talks about daycare center. So I don't know what the difference is. Family,
Well,
child.
adult and child, like if you take care of adults, like with dementia and stuff and versus.
Right,
child.
that, but what's the difference between daycare center, child and family child care home?
I don't know. It's
This
under
is
Somebody
residential
doing
and
it.
Goes to public.
Somebody taking care of children out of their home, I guess, would be the family child care home. And the daycare center, no one would live there likely.
Would that be, so a daycare center, I'm thinking maybe a certified facility where they actually have like license or something versus,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
just a family.
even a child, even the family, they have to be licensed, I'm pretty sure.
Do they?
Yeah, oh,
They
yeah,
do, they do.
yeah. So
It's just different licensing.
So what are we doing?
why would you have that in a
This one?
multifamily? Like a townhome?
Yeah,
With
it seems
multiple-
odd.
That's odd. That doesn't make sense.
I don't think people want to have an apartment next door to a family home daycare.
So conditional or delete what, the family childcare one?
Conditional maybe, because we can't think of everything
You know
reason.
what? I think they all should maybe be conditional because you don't want 10 kids in your home and some people might do that. That might not be safe. I don't know.
Yeah, but at some point you have to be a licensed daycare in
Right,
order to have
think there's
kids
a-
in the home.
right. So then
Threshold.
we wouldn't be involved. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the threshold is, but
Do we want to, Todd suggested striking this line and then there's daycare down below here, which is. like,
Yeah, but
is
it's in
that-
an institutional public. It's in a different
Yeah,
use.
Yeah, this is if somebody can keep kids in her home,
Oh, yeah, that's weird. Residential versus.
that she lives in, that she maybe keeps her neighbor's kids or whatever.
So what conditional, whoops. Think conditional for the multifamily,
Yeah,
I guess,
Yes.
and then permitted.
Does
Yeah.
that mean that a grandmother would have to ask permission to keep her grandchildren while her daughter?
No, this is
this is for
childcare.
money. This is to be paid.
Well, she might get paid.
No,
No.
Izzy.
Okay.
All right.
And then it says townhome, well, down here, wait, manufactured mobile home park, and then townhome permitted in a multifamily? Oh, okay. And conditional townhome in a business?
I don't know why that would be.
Get rid of that. That doesn't even make sense.
Is that something?
These have all been borrowed from Colorado Springs or Manitou or somewhere else.
That's, yeah, this whole
Yeah.
thing is,
Okay.
Get rid of that? I
yes.
don't know why that would be a use.
Okay. Yeah, that's sort of redundant.
I wish
Townhome
the-
and a multifamily is a
I wish
townhome.
the headings kept.
What's recreational vehicles? That like
See if
big
we
top
can-
over on the highway?
Where are you?
There's a line down there that said recreational vehicle, long-term. It's,
Right, we don't allow them.
Long-term occupancy.
No, that's blank anyway.
Yeah, we
so
don't
All
allow,
right. I
so
got
we
it.
don't allow, that is something good to just define.
Okay.
Or like a campground, we don't allow. Okay, so then public,
All right, so what do we think about?
so having a
civic or
community
community?
building in your single family home, that's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
think
why that
that
would.
doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense for anything.
Do we agree to strike that?
Yes.
So get rid of the whole line. I had a big question.
And
mark.
even multi-family probably,
I got
or
rid of the whole
conditional
line.
for that.
Do we need the line at all?
So Sally Bush Community Building, is it in a residential area?
Is that zoned residential?
It is, really. Mhm.
But it's not in a resident. So, I mean,
But is it zoned as such right now?
oh,
I think it is. Well, as part of, as part of this too, is we're going to need to rezone the whole town because we have new zone codes. So as part of that, it's basically going to be an ordinance that comes to the board that essentially assigns these new codes to every single parcel in town. So as part of that, Sally Bush should probably be zoned either business or public and semi-public. So I don't necessarily think that we need to adjust, make this chart fit that circumstance.
Well, I'm just trying to think of, examples and what makes sense. It's not is it a business or is it owned by the community?
It's
It's a
owned by the church.
It's a nonprofit.
It's owned by the church, did you say, Nate?
I believe the building and the land are owned by the church and it operates independently as its own nonprofit.
it's a business.
But I think it could fit into business or public and semi-public when we do the rezoning. So my point is, I'm just saying, we don't need to necessarily
It's a community.
dictate this square based on the existing.
Do we need that whole line? Do you need to define civic or community buildings?
Probably, since we probably.
Okay,
yeah.
permitted, okay, permitted is a business. Okay, yeah, okay. But
And
yeah,
then even, so a park and open space. So
Yeah.
if there was a, for
community.
instance, on the Wallace Reserve, if, Kirkpatrick Foundation came and said, we
Right,
want to
right.
build a
I'm with you. Yeah.
a new Sally Bush building
I'm with you.
there, then that would, and right
So-
here be a conditional use.
So we get rid of the first two boxes.
I think
Okay,
so.
I agree. Okay.
Club or
lodge.
lodge. I don't know if we'd want that in
I don't
the,
think we want a
single
club in
family.
anybody's house. So get rid of that.
What do we think? Just tell me if anyone agrees with
Oh,
or
what you're
disagrees
doing.
with what we do here.
Yep,
Why don't you
You're
wait?
doing fine. You're doing fine.
I
Go.
agree.
Should we remove it from
Club or
the multifamily?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't think you want to club there. Yeah.
All right.
In daycare center, adults in a multifamily.
no,
This doesn't even make sense.
I know.
no, it really doesn't.
No,
Okay.
but it could be a business, right? The
Yeah.
same as a child daycare. It could be,
Yeah.
well,
Now this is a daycare center, which,
daycare center.
yeah,
and
so I guess that's the difference. It's a commercial building versus the
Right,
family
kindercare,
childcare in home. This should probably say in-home family childcare or something.
Yes.
Or just say,
Well, it's pretty clear when you look at single and two family.
yeah.
Yeah, that it's in the home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say in-home. So this, are we even allowing conditional in
No,
single family? Because that's a commercial building.
Yeah, no. I would say
No.
business
Okay.
and not in a parks or open space. Yeah. So I agree with PP, those last two. Yeah.
Okay.
And then a fire station.
I don't know why it would be the old fire station was
Yeah.
actually zoned business, which was kind of weird. And it still is, but the new one, I forgot. I think it's is it in the public space designation that we have now? I think,
You can't even really.
can't tell.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
yeah,
it's,
yeah, yes.
I think it's
Might be the-
PF with town hall.
Yes, public facility. That's what
Mhm.
it should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if conditional, sure. I mean, if they want to relocate or someone, I mean, I don't know why it couldn't be a conditional use there in a
We
business.
just might end up needing a lot of fire stations everywhere.
Right. Yeah. So is that okay the way it's listed?
Yes.
yes, do you want to take that second P out of the parks and open space?
It's public
It's
and
in public.
semi-public.
Public
Okay.
facility.
So
So
that's where it
that's
would actually
appropriate.
probably be zoned.
That's where it should be, right?
Medical clinic office out of multifamily or conditional?
No,
Well, we were talking about this, like if you did massage, and you might have a room in your house where you provided that or something like that.
but do we want to make them get a permit?
Um,
I'm just looking to see if there's,
no, so we might just want to permit it. I don't know.
Well, doctors used to have their offices in their home.
Right, in their home, right.
Mhm.
So I think maybe we P it. The multifamily thing is weird. I guess you could have, well, no, I guess you could use the other townhouse for your office and you could live in the other side. That
Yeah,
would make more sense than in your single family home.
yep.
So let's
you know,
let's change that to P. You could do it in a multifamily?
what about single or,
No.
If it was big.
what about a massage therapist and having
Right.
a,
Yeah,
or
we
even
kinda-
a
we
mental
actually have
health
someone that
therapist?
Or
does that
mental
out of their home
counseling or
right
something
now.
like that.
Yeah.
We have someone that does that out of their home right now.
Should we do a C or P? Just permit
Oh, I
it.
would do.
No.
Let's permit it.
I was just wondering though, a medical clinic office sounds like a bigger sort of facility. I was just looking
We
down
could do healthcare
below.
or change the wording.
I was just seeing it down below if there was another
Yeah.
like
Physician service,
therapy thing or,
medical,
There's professional services
professional services.
and there's commercial or service uses. That seems more
yeah.
Yeah.
professional service. How's
Yep.
that?
Or there's personal service here
And
too.
personal,
Yes.
personal
Yeah.
and professional
Okay.
office. Yes, that's what I meant. Personal.
So let's keep these as not here in this.
Well, let's just get rid of it and
The-
address it. I don't think we're going to put a whole medical office in someone's home, but but we could keep it in the
Right.
next.
Yeah, but leave it for the other
Business.
two, right?
Oh, as a business, yes, sorry.
Okay. Same with
Yes.
parking facility.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
You might even have a lawyer open an office in his house. People have home offices.
Parking facility, conditional multifamily? No. You're gonna get rid of that, right?
Yeah, I got rid of that.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, whoops.
All right, next page. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right,
Public
public recreation. I'm not even sure what exactly that
Permitted in your single family home? No.
means.
No.
Public recreation.
I mean, if there's like
It's like a
a,
park.
I'm thinking of like a guide service or something, or like but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take place. I don't know. I'm just thinking like a guide that would have like
It's like a business pub. That's
mountain
like a,
bikes or boats or something and guides
Right.
tours, but they wouldn't
Oh.
be doing it on their property. They would be taking people out, but I don't know if this makes sense. It just doesn't.
No, because then you wouldn't worry about it because it wouldn't be in there.
Is it in our definitions?
Yeah.
Which is a mess because I reorganized everything.
Public recreation.
Oh, they're in alphabetical order, aren't they?
Sort of. Yeah.
Well, not now.
Oh, here we go. Or no. Darn
Oh, yeah, we got rid of personal services.
it.
Whoops,
Darn it.
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, there we go. Any area open to the public and dedicated to. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense in residential.
No.
Because there's structures that are needed, it looked like in that.
Where'd the personal services go?
But again, if we struck it from the definitions, need to decide if we really want to, or strike it from here too.
I'm
Yeah, we
wondering if
got
that
rid of
came
most
from,
of these.
the like Anthem that has various recreational facilities within their development. That's what that
Oh.
almost sounds like. So they kept it
Yeah.
maybe under a residential thing.
Like
with
an
a-
HOA
Yeah.
pool or something or whatever. Strike it. What do we think? We struck it from definitions, so if we don't strike it, we're gonna have to leave it in.
Um, Yeah, I guess strike it.
Are we all
I'm not gonna worry about it.
good with that?
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's too many lines here. Public building, municipal office.
Okay, so that's a building owned by the public. It would be our town hall, it would be
That can't be, oh, well, I guess you can put it in a residential.
sheriff's office.
Just, I guess.
So if
leave it.
town hall ever burns down again, you can't put it in my house.
Yeah.
No, we're coming to your house, Todd.
But it would, if there was an older home, it would make sense to have town hall be in a,
That's what it was.
to convert it, you wouldn't have to redistrict, rezone it. That'd be nice, actually.
Conditional.
Yeah, I suppose they leave that line. I don't know about the open space, whether it should be in a park, but I guess could be.
Where did this big chart come from? Does this come from some of the town? Sure.
Yeah.
Some other town.
Yeah.
A lot of most all of our code has come from another town.
Okay, so let's go to religious, right?
What are we? Okay, so
I
this
think
line's
just leave
okay.
it.
Okay.
I think just leave it.
Religious assembly.
Yeah, leave it.
I think you have to leave it. You gotta leave it because
Okay.
we're America.
School. School.
Uh,
I don't know if,
You could conceivably have a preschool and a residence.
Yeah,
I-
homeschool.
what about a multifamily?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could, yeah.
leave it.
Okay.
Let them have more teaching. Schools are good.
Transit stop. I guess that makes sense if we had a multifamily conditional.
Yeah,
Right. Didn't we strike it from the,
I think get rid of the transit stops. You don't have to zone it, right? Line the whole thing out. Is that,
it'd be nice to have a
Am I
bus
thinking of
down to
that?
Manitou or something.
There's school bus stops now.
Yeah.
I don't know, we may have to put a lot.
We
of
crossed, we
these back.
eliminated it from the definitions. And I don't know that a transit stop would usually be in the right of way, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's,
gosh.
there's one now. Mhm.
We already did we sort of talk about, oh, yeah, where are you? Are we on the bars yet?
Sorry, I was looking.
automotive sales, service and repairs. Commercial service. Yeah, we may
Struck it.
these definitions back, if we leave it as we're going through here. But don't
All
worry
right.
for now.
Yeah, I'll stop going back and forth. So yeah, we can, I guess, just use this as another chance to decide if we're striking it or not.
Yeah.
So what do we think? It's only
Automotive
Leave it,
conditional, leave it in
Yeah.
business,
yeah.
bar, leave it.
in a multifamily.
No,
Well, the distillery,
I don't think you want a distillery in a multifamily.
probably shouldn't have it in a home. But does he live there?
No,
No.
there's he has a separate home.
Oh, he does, okay. All right. So then we're gonna get rid of that C, okay.
Bed and breakfast, conditional and now this is not short-term rentals, but,
You could have a bed and breakfast in a single family room.
yeah, I know like over in Cascade, there's those
Right,
bed and breakfasts that are, would you want to leave, permit it in both residential zones?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we can.
campground,
I think we struck that from the definition.
Yeah, I don't think we want anybody camping, building fires, etc.
We'll just leave those blank then.
Yeah.
Although if it's in the, again, it's one of those things, if it's in the chart at all, we should probably leave a definition for it, but
right,
I agree. I
it's
agree.
not, I think it's good to have in the chart to just to
Yes.
say that it's not permitted.
yes, I agree with you, yes.
Commercial recreation indoor. I think that's the same as,
Is that like a gym?
I guess.
Yeah,
Seems the same as the public recreation,
I think just a business, I don't think,
just business.
yeah. And then take the other, I don't think it's conditional. And a
And
park, maybe,
open space conditional.
Well, a church could have a gym.
Yeah, so leave it in all the other ones.
Might play bingo.
not open space, an indoor and an open space,
Yeah.
an open space, no.
Not an indoor,
It's indoor,
right?
so
Okay,
I would say no.
let's keep our open
Not a pool
spaces
hall.
outdoor.
Keep our indoor, yes, indoor and our outdoor.
Okay, so outdoor
So
Ah.
our
there.
tennis court, we've got our little exercise area pad. We have,
I think not in the open space, and open space is not for commercial use, is it? Oh, well, I
Right.
guess it could be. Okay, all right, so then leave it, and that, just take the first C out.
Okay. Community garden, we're good there. We should
Yeah.
probably put it in the open space as well, right? If there's a
yes,
Yeah, that would be more,
financial institution.
I would just leave business. That seems so, I wouldn't,
Yeah, I don't think I'd put one in the multi.
no. A bank and, no.
Gasoline service.
What about
station.
financial consultants? Would
That's
you
not an
consider that a
institution.
institution?
I think
I don't
that'd
think
be,
they're an
That's
institution.
personal services.
Yeah. Or professional services.
yeah.
Or professional, yeah, sorry. So a gas station.
Only conditional in
The public?
public, semi-public, that doesn't
That's
make
weird.
sense.
Oh, public.
How about we put it
inside.
conditional in business
How about business?
and not the other one?
Yeah, I agree
or-
with you.
Yeah.
Not
I
a
think
public
if you're gonna have a
facility.
gas station, you
and
wanna
a public
rezone it.
facility, like up here at Town Hall, no,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Well, you know. this-
Sometimes, oh, go ahead, Ann.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know exactly who going to forbid the guest. It would be nice to have one again.
Right,
I was just thinking, sometimes government facilities, well, we do have gas down at the Public Works yard.
yeah, but that's not a gas station.
Right.
Like, no, like,
Okay.
you could
It's
put
not a commercial
commercial.
thing, yeah.
You could put, if you want to
Commercial.
qualify and put commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial gas station and have it conditional, you know. if
Under
they-
business.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on. Hotel,
Hotel,
motel,
motel.
business. It's a business.
I don't think a hotel should be in a multi
Nope,
family.
No.
I agree.
It's under business.
Yep,
Kennel, pet care, same thing.
I think we said the same thing. Well, pet care is pretty general. I
Yeah.
think you could
Do like a what,
You
like a
could do it. I think it should, yes. I think it,
permitted or
I think take pet care out of it.
conditional for,
Take pet care and just make it a kennel. Does that make sense?
mhm.
So, no?
There
Because pet-
are private individuals that are doing pet care.
Correct. But so we don't care so much about that. We don't want to or do we want to regulate that?
No, I want to.
But a kennel, somebody
Separate
opening
them.
a kennel, like a big kennel, no.
How do I-
That would be a business.
A big kennel would probably be more like a business, but a pet care would, could conceivably even be out of someone's home.
Correct. Do you want to list that or not? I think they're
These-
two different things in
Yeah,
my
these are
mind.
These are what we would consider to be, okay, you can use this property for,
I understand,
Yeah,
but they're two different
okay.
things in my mind. Pet
Okay.
care and a kennel is two different things.
so yeah, split it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I want to make it more complicated. If it all falls under the same concept, kennel / pet care. We can,
Kennel is more permanent, I think, in terms of, and around the clock,
Yeah, it's like a business.
instead of like, yeah, very noisy.
Yeah, it's like a business.
And pet care is sort of in and out.
Right. Do we want to
Washing,
regulate pet care or
grooming,
no?
or whatever.
I don't want to regulate it.
What do you think?
Not at
Paul?
all. Just get rid of pet care altogether.
I mean, it could be a problem if somebody had 10 dogs in their house. It
Well,
could.
now, if you get rid of it, then that means
Or we define it.
if someone wants to do pet care out of their home, they'll have to come in front of you to actually
Why?
get an approved use. Because these are approved uses.
Uh-huh.
And so
But
if someone
what
wants
if there's
to,
a use that's not listed?
You're silent on it. Does that mean that they have to get anything approved or it's just?
you would have a gap. And therefore, someone wants to do pet care out of their home. And you
Okay.
do not address it,
Okay,
and they just start doing that use,
okay,
and the neighbors complain,
right,
now it's gonna come back in front of the commission
Okay.
and board.
okay.
Your recommendation is we have to keep it in?
Okay, yeah, keep it in, but also then I think it should be conditional. I don't think we should allow
Right.
people to have 10 dogs in their house.
Right, I would, yeah, that's reasonable.
I think it should, that's something that could be very problematic if we didn't conditional. So,
Do they have to get a permit to do that?
yes,
Even if it's not for pay?
no, if you're doing it as a business. Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Okay. All right, so that looks good then.
so then you would put C under single family as well, right? For kennel?
For
Pet
kennel,
care?
kennels are a whole different level of
I agree.
disturbance.
Say no.
I would say no.
The kennel's a business. The pet care is
Let's serve like more of a,
Right, are we going to have them be in two different
single
lines
family
then?
home. Can they keep,
oh, for pet care, I guess,
yeah,
conditional.
yeah.
Okay.
If you want to leave the two together
Yeah.
on the same line. Yeah.
Does that look right then?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
good.
Right.
All right.
Personal.
Personal services, you could do in your single family or two family home.
Yes.
Even in a multi?
You want
Yes.
a professional office in a multi-family facility?
I would say almost
No, why
Is it-
not?
more, I don't know. Do we want a single family, like a therapy office or something, or?
Yeah, you could.
It's
Or-
common to have people do massages in their home.
Right. So
Right.
I know we're thinking of professional, but yes, I would say P.
Professional office versus professional service.
How about
No,
take
I
the
guess-
office, how about take that office out
Put services.
And
and
just
just leave it as
services.
services? Does that seem fine?
Yes.
You could do personal/professional services. How about that? Personal
Just
slash
combine 'em.
professional,
Oh, I see what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
personal/professional services, and then get rid of the office.
And then you probably need to get out of the public and semi-public space, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, just altogether remove, okay.
Well, professional and a. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, what did I just do? I'm just gonna strike.
Getting pretty complicated.
Right. Okay.
All right,
RV park, no. Restaurant.
restaurant out of a multifamily.
Well, you could have,
Good.
A what?
You could open a bagel store.
yeah, you could have a
And
little
your-
restaurant
and
in a
your- yeah.
multi-family.
A
Really?
little,
Yeah, breakfast place.
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? A restaurant out of a home?
No. Multi-family is what we're talking about. Let's say you have
Oh, like a
yeah,
little,
bunch of apartments and downstairs you have a little bagel place.
You had the lodge and you had a little breakfast shop there. That'd be all right.
okay, but conditional or permitted?
It would be in the business district.
No, it's in the multifamily district.
A restaurant,
Right, that's the question. If a multifamily could have a restaurant,
what's a multifamily, like a hotel?
like a townhome or something.
No,
or
like
if you've got-
townhouses or
You
condos.
had a little
Apartments.
mother-in-law apartment that you had a little kitchen in.
I feel like that's a little weird, just
It is
because of
weird.
all the stuff that you need to do to have a restaurant, like get
Yeah, you
the
have to
appropriate
You would
inspections
have a food
and
truck. You would have, that's what you would
a
have.
food truck. It
You would
would
have
be
a
better.
food truck.
Yeah.
you
But
have-
what if you parked your food truck out front and it's in your home, at your home?
Well, that's dealt with all differently.
Oh, okay.
There's a mobile vendor license.
Oh, okay. All right, great.
But you have to get health permissions, all those kind
Yeah.
of.
Right,
permits.
right. So anyway, would we
Just
would we
like,
allow it or
yes.
not?
But this is whether or not we're not the health department. So this is whether or not properly permitted, would we allow a restaurant in a group of apartments or something?
That's true.
If there was sufficient,
Yeah, because they would still have to, they would still have to do their health department stuff independently.
We're not the health department, yeah.
Right. Leave it? Conditional?
how
Yeah,
about,
it's conditional. Well, it's for the people who live there and they.
Right.
All right, retail store, not in your house.
I would say this is kind of the same as a restaurant, because you could have a little shop in a townhome thing if you were doing like I don't know, whatever, Airbnbs or something. You could have a little shop with
Condominiums.
supplies or something. Or, I don't know, conditional anyway, so it'd have to be approved.
Yeah.
You want to have it conditional in single family home.
a little business of
A
some
retail store.
quilt shop.
Should be conditional.
It's fine.
Conditional, okay. All right, well, here's a juicy one. Short-term rentals.
Yeah, this one I do have a request that we consider putting a C in for business, and I cannot explain why at this time due to confidentiality.
Okay.
What?
Get a
What'd
regular
you say?
business.
So,
Business rentals.
I put a request to the planning
Oh.
commission to consider having C for short-term rental under business, but there's some confidentiality items and I cannot say why.
that's fine, Todd. Do you want it just under business, or what about under single family home and under?
Yeah, that was the only request I had on this one. I think we could probably deal with whatever the commission wants to have under single family and multifamily.
Oh, you want to change those to conditional? Is that what you said?
No, I was just only wanting to add conditional to business.
To what?
Okay.
Nathan's already got it in.
What do y'all want to do on single family and multifamily? Do we want a P or a C?
I think it has to be P. I think there's actually a Supreme Court ruling in Colorado that said that short-term rentals are not considered commercial enterprises or something to that effect. So
Okay.
I don't think that we can restrict that.
Okay. All right.
And that C may go away, but right now there's something that's potentially happening that could impact it. So you may want to have it there for at least a year or two.
Okay, we got it.
It isn't a
Veterinary
dog.
clinic, what do we want to do on that? That's business, obviously. I don't think it's much else, right?
Right.
Right.
Drop down to institutional or industrial.
Auto salvage. I think we struck that from the definitions, if I remember right.
Yeah. Do we want to leave it in so that it's clear we can't have it and take the C out?
Sure. Good idea.
Yeah, that way, that says you can't have an auto salvage business, right? All right.
Mike, I can't hear you. Use the microphone.
I said, yes, we ought to take the C out and just show that we don't allow auto salvage businesses.
Thank you. Good. Construction services.
Pretty vague.
It really is. I kind of want to take that out. What do y'all think?
Mm. I think leave the C in there. I don't know.
I would think, in fact, I think I know probably a construction service that operates out of their home as their
Yeah,
headquarters.
that's true.
I mean, they do all their work out on the site, but
Well, that would be a personal service too, or a professional service. So I think it's like having, a whole construction office and landscaping and equipment and all that. We don't want that, I don't think.
Heck is it down here?
Um,
Here we go. We struck it.
Yeah, we took that out. We took the manufacturing and processing out, which I think is a good idea.
We should leave it in. We should probably leave it in so no one tries to build it
To
back.
say we can't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you think about the construction though? I'm thinking about manufacturing.
I don't know. I mean, like Mike said, I think there could be businesses affected by this in town. I don't know. Or maybe we need to redefine construction services in the definitions
I agree. Yeah.
as far as
Not
just
even
saying-
defined. It wasn't that just a heading? I don't even think.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't.
It wasn't ever defined. So
You
I'm
know
not,
what? It's a professional service.
yeah.
I think we do take it out.
Just
And
take it out.
it falls under professional services.
Isn't there a man in town that restores old cars as his business?
no, not as a business.
Just
Who's that
just
man?
having fun?
Yes.
Yeah, just take the whole construction services out.
Are you okay with that, you guys?
I think it was a heading. I don't even think it was a category.
I think that could be
Just add
inclusive.
the construction aspect to professional services.
Sure,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we're taking out,
So
or
we take,
So
we're
is
gonna
it
take the line out, yeah,
Striking through that, right?
but take
Yeah.
the C out of manufacturing and processing. We don't really want to manufacture, well, does the distillery manufacture?
It's a different use, so I think
Okay.
we're fine.
Okay,
and just take construction
Yeah.
out.
and then self-storage.
Okay.
Okay.
I struck through that, so self-storage, I mean, we do have that already in town. And that's another thing where that could be, if it's not already zone business, it probably should be, so.
Business,
Should we permit that or
Yeah.
do
business,
conditionally,
yeah.
just regular
I like the
permit?
mini warehouse part.
Yeah.
Warehouse. Okay,
Utilities, so this is where
that would be public works, right? Like public.
well, it could
Or it
also
could be a
be
business.
like a Colorado Springs Utilities pump station facility or,
So you want to allow that,
something
you
like
don't want
that.
to condition it.
and a lot of times those need to go in residential areas because of
Ah.
just the logistics and the engineering of
Okay.
everything. So I would say,
Permit it all the way across?
I mean, I
Sure.
don't see why not.
Yeah, we need utilities.
Just everywhere, or should
Sure.
they have to conditionally do a conditional use permit
Everywhere.
in
probably.
residential?
Probably everywhere.
We might want to be able to sign off on exactly where they're putting it.
And also to,
Okay,
permit in business. Whoops. And then what's public? Oh, that's the public.
Open space, yeah,
It's the public, semi-public thing.
yeah.
So that's, okay. And that, these were added before previously, the C on accessory building or structure on open space, which already kind of exists on, like Wallace has that little
Oh,
shed,
right.
and
Okay.
so there's like needs for utility sheds. I don't know if, does it need to be conditional? I think that, I mean, it would come before planning commission for,
I think the open space condition would probably be okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so P it, okay,
No, conditionally said
okay,
for open space. Is that okay with everybody or?
sure.
Yes, yes.
They're gonna need sheds for the horses
Dwelling. Yeah, it depends a lot on how it's defined.
on the horse rescue thing they're planning.
Sorry, what was that, Ann?
It's fine, we have
I
it.
was just saying they're gonna need shelters and stuff for the horse rescue thing that they're planning on the other side of Red Butte.
Oh, gotcha.
We got it all there, we're good. Accessory dwelling unit,
So this is, well, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, be very careful with this one. This can trip into short-term rentals as well. So yeah, you may even want to take some time to think really hard about this and research it a little.
Which one was that, Todd?
accessory dwelling unit, what do you recommend, Todd?
Yeah,
The separate dwelling?
Accessory dwelling
well,
unit.
Yeah.
dwelling
An
is a-
accessory dwelling unit would be like putting up almost like a
tiny house and
tiny
renting it in your
home
back house.
in your backyard.
What do you recommend, Todd, on that?
You know, my own personal thoughts would be more along the lines of leave it blank,
Mhm.
the way we would not allow it. Those are my personal thoughts. And
Yeah.
it could be a real touchy subject. So
Yeah,
You know, what's interesting, just from a personal standpoint, I don't know if this would affect us, but our two old 100-and-some-year-old cabins are on the same lot. They have two different house numbers, but they're really on the same lot, so it's two little houses. So one is really, I guess you legally an accessory dwelling or something. I don't know.
Well, if you have two house numbers, then you actually have two residences.
Right, it'd be non-conforming.
I
But-
don't think, yeah,
but
I
the
don't think it'd be
One owner, you know.
one
but
owner. Yeah, the number of owners wouldn't really trip
these-
anything, I don't think.
They just
Hey,
put house numbers on
Hey,
there.
let's do it blank like he suggested on the accessory dwelling unit. Can we do that?
Leave it on, so you can't do it.
Yeah.
I
Nate,
don't think you should.
does that work for you?
No.
Where's Nate? What happened?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just reading the definition here of what it is or what it's defined as here.
Yeah, I can see what Todd's talking about how this could be pretty a minefield.
Well, they already exist.
Right, and so you'd be grandfathered, but we're talking about new stuff.
Oh,
Is that what we're talking? Yeah, that's correct, right? It would be a non-conforming use or whatever from previous, right?
I'm not even sure you can classify it as.
Well, like Ann's
non-conforming use.
situation where,
Yeah, that's two separate residences on one lot.
so, but it
It's
was
not an
already there.
It's not really a true accessory dwelling unit. You have two unique
Oh, I see. Correct.
residences.
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
But
So
we-
the fact
we
that they're
could
on one lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
we could not sell them separately because there's not enough land.
Right.
Not that we're planning to, we don't even rent them.
Okay.
So,
Hey,
I'm just thinking of how this ties into short-term rentals because, well, I don't know that it matters if you strike or if you leave them in the chart.
leave it blank.
During the short-term rental discussion, we should probably have some sort of,
Yeah, we should probably bring up that, yeah, we were not really too keen on having accessory dwelling, people
Mhm.
like that would have enough ground to bring in a separate,
Right.
like,
don't
Say
forget,
tiny
we still
home.
we'll still have public hearings on these things too.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I just don't know if we want to not, like totally not allow, well, it's a dwelling. Yeah, I see.
It's just
Not
pretty
just a simple
complicated.
accessory structure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you want somebody living in an accessory building.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine with me.
yeah, there's really not that many lots that could actually handle dropping a tiny home in
Mhm.
and then also trying to handle septic system to go along with it as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Drive-through,
Okay, wait, so we're not going to allow it just in in any of the residential?
Yeah, I struck it from everything.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I was looking down.
drive-through,
Drive-through,
business. I don't
sure.
space. I think business is pretty enough.
Yeah, not the semi, I don't know if that,
Since there's no parking, you have to drive through.
right. I don't know if that would be,
A public, I think not.
No,
No.
Again, this was borrowed from Colorado Springs.
or who knows where all. Home occupation. What in the heck does that
What
mean?
does that mean? Jesus.
here, let's go back to our. We struck through it before.
Oh, no.
I see you struck out home occupation.
Oh. Business, occupation, trade.
That is very confusing.
Yeah, I think you got
we get rid of
professional
that.
services, so.
It's like
Would
personal services. Yeah, just get rid of it.
would
Yeah, let's
professional
get rid of
services
that.
cover it?
Yes.
Yeah,
everything.
okay.
So let's just.
While we're at it, let's look at outdoor retail and display. Was that one next anyway?
Outdoor dining. Oh, outdoor retail and display.
That's allowed right now, isn't it, with the little shops and things?
Well, they're in the
Yeah.
business, but
Yeah, okay, let's go back to our list,
outdoor,
our chart.
outdoor dining.
All right, so we're on page 15.
And we've got,
So outdoor dining, did we address that?
Not yet, we couldn't even get back to home occupation. Get rid of,
I think
So
we could
are we
get-
getting rid of the whole line?
yes,
Getting
The
rid of
whole
that.
line, get rid of home
Yes.
occupation. And I think outdoor dining doesn't really need to be addressed. Oh, well, it's allowed, I guess, if you were in a business.
yeah, we have the pantry doing outdoor
Right,
dining.
so I would permit it, but not at home, not at your home, not in
And-
residential.
The drive-through, did we finish that one? Okay.
Yeah,
All right, outdoor
Wait,
retail,
didn't we say that a restaurant could be a conditional use in a
in a
in a
townhome.
multifamily? So we
yes,
should probably do the same here.
Okay, all right,
Conditional
okay.
outdoor retail, conditional. I don't know why it would be conditional in business. Should that be permitted?
yes,
Yes,
And yeah, we don't want to shut Mike down here.
outdoor retail in public.
Conditional and, yeah, what is this,
public.
So let's say you have Bronc Day, you have booths, you're displaying your stuff in open spaces. Do we permit that? How does that work?
I don't know why that would be a problem.
That's already.
It's a
handled.
limited zone. It'd be like town hall and the fire station and I don't know why,
Gazebo
Conditionally.
park,
just conditionally.
which one are you talking about?
It's outdoor retail and display on like town property. Conditional
Yeah,
or
probably should, yeah, it
permanent.
sounds like on town
Yeah.
property, sounds like it should be, yeah.
probably should come before
We
the,
have stuff outside all the time and we only own 18 inches out from the store, so the rest of it.
yeah, but it's not a parcel that's zoned. It's just
Yeah,
right of way
zoning.
that you're just using.
So
So,
we're not
which is fine.
breaking the law.
No.
All right.
All right, outdoor storage. I don't even know. What would that be? Like,
Dumpsters?
I'm thinking like RV storage or something. But this says incidental keeping of goods. We struck it from the before. New or used motor vehicle sales and rental display should not be defined as that. Not kept in a structure. This is under,
Honey, I've never heard of such a thing.
it's under,
What's an
Yeah,
outdoor
we-
storage?
And out.
it's under
um,
temporary, or no, it's under accessory
Like a
uses.
Parking a bunch of stuff around?
Basically, there's
Oh,
outdoor,
yeah, we don't want that.
yeah, there's outdoor storage facilities, I believe, up in Woodland Park that just,
Oh,
where people pull in old RVs.
okay.
Cars.
I don't,
whatever.
the way it's defined here is a more it's different than that. It's but we struck it out, but where was it just then?
We pay the Wilkersons, that little storage unit behind us, we pay them.
Outdoor storage. Mhm.
So this is basically saying, oh, sorry, Mike.
Does that fall in this category? We park our camper
Probably.
behind our store?
Yeah, probably.
No,
Does it?
I don't think so.
Because
Well-
we pay those storage units back there. They own that piece of grass behind us,
Oh, yeah.
between us and the post office.
Uh-huh.
And we've made a deal with them to park our camper down there and pay them once a month for that. Is that in the? is that-
Here's how it's defined, the incidental, and this is,
Yeah,
I mean, I am a little concerned about it because it says keeping of goods, materials, equipment, or personal property of any nature that are not kept in a structure having at least 4 walls and a roof. I mean, I've got stuff in my driveway that's not contained in 4 walls and a roof, you know what I mean? So this is, to me, is kind of a broad stroke that is maybe,
maybe we should take that out entirely. That really makes sense.
yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I want to store, if I have 8 bicycles and I want to store them outside, can I, this, to me, this says that's regulated by this. Personal
I would
property.
almost wonder if you might want to consider having a conditional use just under business only.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That
But-
way,
and-
just like Mike said, if, the guy that owns the enclosed storage units, if they wanted to start putting like Mike's camper
Yeah.
back there, they probably ought to come to us and say, yeah, we want to, that's what they're wanting to use it for. And then we would say yay or nay, or whatever conditions we would apply, say 1 or 2 only.
I'm just, this reads to me like it's even regulating like, so like on a person's house.
Well, not residential. We're only in the business. We're only in the business district and public district. Oh, yeah, and it's
But it
not allowed. I
would
see
be
what you're saying.
Permitted, right?
If it's blank, then it's not allowed.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So,
I see what you're saying now.
Outside your house.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
or like I said, like if I have 10 bikes, I don't have a garage,
Right,
like,
right.
or motorcycles or whatever.
Maybe we'll
There's
open up a
people
bit.
that are storing stuff
Yes.
outside right now all over
Yeah, there's not
town.
very many garages in town, I can tell you for sure. 'cause
You know what? And that may fall under
And I
some
don't know if
other
it's-
code.
Because
you
it's
know,
kind of
rule.
accessory. We're all dealing with sort of personal. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
Should we just get rid of it?
Or do you want to
Get rid
just
of it.
take it out completely and have
Yes.
people
And then
want to
if
come
there's an
to
issue,
you?
we deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
I agree.
Okay.
It's too, yeah.
It may come up, and don't forget that across the highway, a lot of land is Green Mountain Falls over there that's maybe developed some.
Okay, let's see if we can knock these last 4 out. We need to end
Yes.
late.
Construction support activity, where is that? Temporary uses. Temporary retail.
Here it is.
temporary
We
special-
struck it out before, but
A temporary modular building located at a construction site, serving only as an office until the given construction work is completed. I think
well, I think
I don't think we need that.
we may. I
we
mean,
might in a business area or,
yeah. Well, let me think about. I'm just thinking about there's this new pump station coming up for CSU, and which is why that's on my mind. But they've asked for basically a temporary. They're going to be bringing a temporary easement agreement to the town to basically have a couple of staging areas, and that's going to be a pretty significant project. So they may need this. They may need a little
in a residential.
thing. Well, that's the
Wherever
thing.
it
It
is,
wouldn't,
yeah.
in these cases, we're talking about it'd be on the right of way. So it
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
be but that where they're building it is on a residential parcel. So they may want a temporary thing
And
there.
It looks like it's all permitted in the chart, so let's just leave it. Is it
Yeah,
problematic?
I think
It'll
it's-
be removed. It's temporary. I think. it's okay.
If you might want to consider making it conditional across the board.
Yeah.
That way they have to come
Okay.
in and,
Yeah,
and
so they're
talk.
not just putting things up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we got mobile food vendor, conditional across the board. I think that works. Temporary retail and display. You don't want it in a single family home. Are we okay with where it is on everything else? We have temporary retail and display, and we have temporary special event, which I assume is like,
Temporary use on a public or private that extend.
yeah, I
special
think be
events.
consistent. I think with one of your earlier ones, you might want to consider having a C under the public.
Is that
The
like a
single
yard
family?
sale?
Oh,
Is that like a yard sale?
which one here you're talking about?
About outside a temporary retail display? Would that be a yard sale?
It says this definition does not include a yard sale, lemonade stand. It goes on in the definition.
again, Bronx Day is an example.
Green box.
Should we
Bring
put
on-
C, should we put conditional and single family? Like if someone had because, well, let me think about that.
But it says it doesn't include a lemonade stand and stuff like that.
Oh, it does not.
No,
But I'm just
in our
thinking like-
definition. So our definition addresses that, which is
Okay.
okay. And then the craft fair, street fair, festival, temporary special event is what that is.
What if someone wanted, like, for instance, Green Box having a concert in a residential
Right,
zone parcel?
right.
That would be a temporary. I think we should, what I'm saying is I think we should have Cs in these two squares. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, so let's stop there.
Oh my God.
Don't mind, Nate,
Mike is?
can you address Ann Esch's questions and just send us an email addressing those questions that she had, please?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
And-
we'll do.
Okay, and Nate, as soon as you're the one checking into potential people for our consultant, trying to get on calendars, et cetera, can you send me that information as soon as you have it pulled together?
I'm sorry, what information in particular?
The consultants, or was it Lisa that was doing that? I was thinking when it was Nate that said he would.
No, it's Nate. I just was offering. I just.
Well, if
did
you
some-
wanna- if you
I
don't mind
just did
send-
some research.
Yeah, if you don't mind sending me links to what you found,
Okay.
then that'll save me a little bit of time and then I can
Sure.
gather some information, make contact, and we can perhaps discuss at the next meeting.
And
And that-
please copy me on it, Lisa, when you send it to him. if you don't
Okay,
mind.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, I think that we've covered everything on our agenda. We have our next meeting set. And so we stand adjourned. Thank
All
you
right.
all for
9:06. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
We went so long, we dropped all the extra Zoom participants. So,
Yeah.
There's a new strategy, right?
I appreciate y'all hanging in. I know everybody's exhausted. Not everybody feels well. Thank y'all so much.
Nate, this is Ann. You
Yeah.
know, my email that I sent to you,
yeah,
perhaps you can find a way to send it to all the other commissioners. That's
yeah,
legal.
Lamar just asked about that. I'll reply to that and with the answers that I know of, and if anyone else has
I
any
have
further
some-
information, they can add on to that. And I think it's fine if we sort of,
It's all the information. We're not making policy, but I think they should know what I was thinking.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll
Thank
do that.
Sounds good. Thank y'all. Good night.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.